Welcome to Mojave River News. I'm your host, James Roberts. On this show, we're going to be interviewing three candidates for Victorville City Council: Negrete, Becerra, Abdul. On this show, we're going to be covering a variety of topics with the candidates. One of the main issues within the country right now is public safety and defunding the police department. Also, we're going to talk about the homeless. What can the candidates or the city do regarding the homeless? There's issues going on as it pertains to Measure P that's on the ballot this time around, the 1% sales tax to cover the public safety. It will help fire, police, code enforcement, and a variety of other issues like libraries and literacy. Good evening, everyone. I'm James Roberts. I am sitting with Mr. Eric Negrete, candidate for Victorville City Council. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening.
I appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
I appreciate that. You know, I'm going to just jump right into it. Can you please let the viewing audience know why you're running for office?
Sure. Basically, I'm running again with the support of my wife and my family to serve our community. When you run for council, most people may not realize it. It's not about power. It's really about serving your community. There's a lot of challenges with running a community. There's a lot of budget issues, law enforcement, and police come to mind as one of the major ones. People often talk about crime, but no one talks about the actual cost of law enforcement and how it rises every year. It seems, and our general funds don't usually keep up. So I have experience from 2014 to 2018 being on the council. It was a tremendous honor, and I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Nice. So you talked about public safety. We're going to jump into Measure P. What's your opinion on that?
Yes. Well, here's the problem. What we have right now is a regional problem with law enforcement and contracts with the county of San Bernardino. So no one city can solve the high desert crime problem by itself. When you contract with the county of San Bernardino, what winds up happening is the costs sometimes go up every year, even though your general fund revenues do not go up every year. Unfortunately, with the virus, you can see decrements in these accounts, and now next thing you know, we don't have the revenue. So Measure P will kind of right size us and keep at least what we had as far as law enforcement services, but and also provide additional support. And it's a general use tax, so it can be used for other things, but my hope is that this will make a significant improvement to the city of Victorville. But quite frankly, I feel like we haven't had enough law enforcement in this city for 20 years. And so with the tremendous explosion of population that has happened over that time, I feel not only this city, and I don't like to speak about other cities, but the cities have not been able to keep up with the demand for services, whether it's fire or police.
And when you were on the council 4 years ago?
Yes, or two
years ago, I apologize. What did the body do at that time to increase the census for patrolmen?
Well, when I first started, my first budget meeting was actually on the council, and we were supposed to vote on a budget that I hadn't seen yet. And the first question I asked is there law enforcement upgrades in this budget? And I was told no, and I said, well, then when you let me know when that happens, I'll vote on that budget. And so in the next couple of years, we were able to add a bloodhound, a few deputies and whatnot, and literally that was my focus every year going forward, because anyone that's made a 911 call in the high desert knows about the response times.
Yes.
They know about the weekends, and we don't have time to mess around with defunding the police, because it's actually already happened. Some people have talked about that, and I can tell you with the virus, it actually did happen. So Measure P will make us whole again, and then hopefully get us a little bit more resources, but it's going to be a constant issue, and you can't have a Measure P every 2 years,
exactly,
quite frankly. But it's not just us, it's a regional problem, and I'd like to work more closely with the other cities. Hopefully achieve some synergy and get with the county of San Bernardino about proactively policing and trying to take advantage of the limited funding we all have up here.
And not be so reactive.
Exactly.
And to transition, we're at the height of the campaign season. What are some of the main talking points that you're putting out there?
My platform in 2014 didn't change from till now. And it's still a strong focus on public safety. So we actually got off a county contract, and we have our own fire department again. That was a big thing from last time, but public safety is not going to change. no matter who's sitting in those
Exactly.
council seats. So that's always been a big one. Encouraging a prosperous business environment. You know, people a lot of times say, well, what can the city do? Well, they can sure as heck not get in the way.
Regulation-wise.
Exactly. And I think I would like to also say the third thing that I've always focused on was making sure that the city services are cost effective and responsive. And that goes back into a bit of a culture thing about your city. How does it treat its residents? Are they there to serve the community, and are they there to serve the businesses? Because the businesses are a big part of your community.
Exactly.
And without them and the sales tax that they generate, we wouldn't have a city. So how you treat a new business, a small business, or any business that comes through the door is very important. And I can tell you that we have a great city manager. We have great professionals that work here. We have a great culture, and it wasn't always like that. And I was on the outside and
looking in,
coming before here, and unfortunately, thanks to the economic downturn, there was furloughs and cutbacks, and we weren't open for 5 days a week. We were just 4 days a week.
I remember that.
And now the city is open 5 days a week. So that's a bit of the culture change I'm talking about. So if you come in for a permit on a Friday and that office is closed, that's going to change your viewpoint on things. And I'm glad that they're open 5 days a week.
And with the lockdown, you know, there's a lot of folks at home and they're pondering, what am I going to do next? You know, and what do you think a city can do to foster and encourage new startups?
I think really what happens in that case, and I get a lot of feedback from millennials and different folks trying to start up, or, you know, there's a lot of frustration. And I think a lot of times if they were to mentor or get with a mentor, somebody in the community who's already established, who's already successful, and ask for advice, ask for example, I found out the hard way about doing a requirement for one of our businesses. I kind of went the gold and platinum solution to help this person get their business license. Turns out, if I had just asked some of my great folks that were on the council, Jim Cox, Jim Kennedy, who've done a great job, I could have benefited from that wisdom. And I think a lot of times the young folks need to reach out, communicate. There are people to help. Exactly.
And we only have a few seconds left. Roads and infrastructure,
Yes.
real quick, 10 seconds.
Yes, roads, as you may know, is another thing where the roads may last 30 years. And so once there's some roads here that were brand new when I was younger. It's time to replace them. So that's a constant focus that we were working on before, and we're still doing that.
I appreciate that. 10 seconds. Please let the viewers know why they should vote for you.
Experience matters. Okay, one of the best things we did in 2018 was settle a SEC lawsuit out at the airport. And so you need dependable, reliable, professional council members, and please vote for Eric Negrete.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks a lot.
God
It was a
bless.
pleasure.
Good evening. I am with Elizabeth Becerra, candidate for Victorville City Council. Good evening to you.
Good evening, sir. How are we doing?
I am doing good, and I appreciate you coming on the show this evening.
Good. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's jump right into it. Can you please let the viewing audience know why you're running for office?
I've worked for the city of Victorville for 34 years. I've sat back and watched what's going on in our city right now, and I feel it's time for me to throw my hat in the ring. I want to continue serving our citizens, and we'll see where we go from there.
Right. That's a lot of wisdom. That's a lot of experience. You've seen a lot of come and goes.
Yes.
While you're sitting at home and you're seeing everything that's going on, what was one of the primary reasons or trigger point that brought you into the race this time around?
It's time for retirement for me,
Okay.
and I'm not done serving my citizens. I'm not done. I want to continue serving my citizens.
Okay.
And let's let the young kids move up in the working field.
Amen. Yeah, right. Is this your first time running for public office?
Yeah, running for public office, but I've been appointed to, I'm on the San Bernardino County Fair Board. I was appointed by the governor. I've been on that for 5 years now.
Wow. And what did that entail? What did you do on that board?
You just run the fair in the sense of everything that goes on, like right now that during this COVID, we're like everybody, our fair is just shut down. So it's kind of like trying to run a business with no money.
Okay, fair.
So because the governor does not give the fairs any money, so
Right.
we're trying to run a fair with no money.
Is there anything in particular, been around for 34 years, close to retirement, is there anything currently within the council that you feel that can be changed right now or upgraded?
Cohesiveness. They need to we need to get along.
Right.
If we can all have our own opinions,
Yes.
but let's have at least cohesiveness.
Right. And you feel you could bring everyone together and have some form of civility?
Yes. Especially with the experience I have, 34 years on the other side.
So you're a good negotiator.
Yes.
Right. So
You know.
compromise is good sometimes.
Compromise is very good,
Yes, ma'am.
but I can offer the back end of the business. So just like you, when you go and you run your business, somebody writes the checks, well, somebody has to process the checks and let's move it forward. I can be that person.
Fantastic. And you can't substitute wisdom and experience.
I'm hoping. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Transitioning. This is the height of the campaign season. What are 3 main talking points about your campaign right now that you would like the general public to know about?
Safety, security, and budget.
Right.
Our budget helps us with the safety and security. Everybody looks at the homeless. The homeless can only be solved with our general fund because the Ninth Circuit Court says that we can't move them off public property.
Right.
And if you do, you have to have a place to send them. 60% of your homeless population counted has to have a place to go. Let's go with 1,000 here because we know there's more than that.
Right.
That's an apartment complex, 600 people. It's an apartment complex that you have to supply, keep safe, and run it basically for free for the homeless.
Right.
That's going to come out of the general fund. General fund already pays for police and fire. It can only take so much.
And right now with COVID, a lot of the general funds are taking a hit right now.
Oh yeah, our gas tax is taking a hit, which pays for our roads.
Right.
And that's statewide.
Exactly. Let's get back on public safety. That's been one of the main topics of the night with all the candidates. Right now within the nation, locally, there's talk about defunding the police. What's your position on that?
Not here. Not if I'm sitting on the council.
Okay. And
Not if I'm sitting on the council.
And I'm quite certain you're familiar with Measure P then.
Yes.
What's your position on that?
I am for Measure P because again, if you want to get rid of the homeless, if you want to house the homeless or move the homeless into a transition, it's got to all come out of the general fund. You can't pay for homeless from gas tax, Measure I, LTF funds, none of those.
Right.
Those all specific are for roads, community service funds. So to be able to fund the police, the fire, and the code enforcement, and to move the homeless, you're going to have to pass Measure P. We have no choice.
Okay.
We have no choice. So.
And transitioning off of that, infrastructure and roads. What can we do, or what can you do, or the body do to help improve it here in Victorville?
We need to get. So gas tax pays for a lot of our road funding here and local transportation funds.
Okay.
So we need to figure out top to bottom where the roads that need to be fixed. You have a neighborhood that has 30 houses on it, I get it, you want your road fixed. But the street we're in front of right now, even as late as it is, we have 30, 40 cars going by it daily.
Right.
And in the middle of the day, there's probably 2,000 on it. So we have to figure out which streets can get funded first.
Right, and with your experience, your 34 years here in the city, what do you think can occur, or what can the council do to foster entrepreneurial startup businesses locally? You know, is there any type of regulation you think can go away, or what's your opinion on that?
We need to move building and planning, streamline it.
And what
Figure it out why it takes 3-4 weeks. Is it to help the business owner say, okay, have all this when you first come in and you can move your plans quicker? Or what can we do on our end to move it quicker? Not just the business side, but on our end.
What's the when a new startup comes to the window, what's usually the time lag on that for?
Depending if it's a new building or if it's renovating a building,
Right.
It all depends. Is it Old Town? Is it off a major street? Is it, it all depends on where it's at, what kind of business it is. Is it restaurant? Is it car dealer? Is it a store? So it all depends on what you would need to get in there, because a restaurant's going to need plumbing inspection.
Right. Now, we're wrapping up. I need you to look at that camera, next 20 seconds, and let everybody know within the city of Victorville why they should elect you for council.
Everybody, us voting is the #1 thing we need to do. I would hope you vote for me, but as long as we all get out there and vote, That's the most important thing. I have 34 years of experience already serving the public of the city of Victorville. I'd like to continue serving you.
Welcome everyone, I'm James Roberts, your host, and I am sitting with Ms. Kareema Abdul. You're running for Victorville City Council. You're
Yes,
one of the
I am.
candidates. How are you, and welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you for having me today.
All right, so we're going to dive right into this. Can you please let the viewing audience know why you're running for public office?
Okay, basically I'm running because I want to be a bigger voice for Victorville. Your average Victorville resident who doesn't make it to the city council, they still need to know what's going on, they still need to be involved, and they still need to be engaged. And I want to be that bridge for the average Victorville person, make them feel involved and part of the city. So that's the biggest reason that I'm running.
Right, and what was your trigger point to get into the race?
The trigger point was I saw a lot of different people applying, but a lot of them didn't have a lot of experience in Victorville.
Okay.
So that was concerning to me because Victorville has so much potential that I want to make sure Victorville is going to be the best part of the high desert.
Right, and how long have you lived in the city?
I've lived in here since 2012. I was actually raised in Apple Valley, but that was as a kid. So as an adult, Victorville is where I want to be at.
Cool. And what do you currently do profession-wise and your experience within your career? How would that transition as a council member?
Okay, well basically I've had 5 years of teaching with special needs children, so you might not think that that directly relates, but you might see that some of the people act a little bit more like children than you might expect. So actually I've seen that it can relate, and as a special needs teacher I did IEPs where I brought together different people with different perspectives, principals, occupational therapists, nurses, teachers, the parents, and we had to come together and we had to make it a win-win. Nobody could lose. It's a school, we've got to do the best for this kid. But at the same time, we all have different specialties, perspectives, and responsibilities. So we had to make it all work together as a legal requirement.
Okay.
It wasn't just as a kumbaya thing. We had to all work together.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And is this your first time running for public office?
Yes, it is indeed.
It's a little scary.
Yes.
it's different.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. I mean, definitely.
And
There's a lot going on in the city.
Right, and I'm assuming since you're saying there's a lot going on, you've
Yes.
attended some of the council meetings or you've seen them on the website.
Yes.
You know, there's some infighting within the council right now. What do you think you could do to bridge the gap and bring some normalcy to the council?
Yeah, that's a good question because your average person, there's only about 10 to 20 people in every city council meeting. So the average person is clearly not interested in all that drama. They're clearly interested in solutions for Victorville.
Right.
So that is one of my biggest priorities is to make the city council work for Victorville.
Okay.
And I'm a special needs teacher. I'm used to dealing with all sorts of behaviors and my patience is endless. So I believe those traits make me uniquely suited for city council.
Fantastic. And right now, as you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the country. Right.
Yeah.
And a big issue is public safety right now, especially with the police. There's a lot of talking points about defund the police. What's your position on that?
Well, my position from the position of Victorville is we can't defund the police because the police are with the county. So that's a no-go. What we have to do is we can reclaim our police department. We can bring it back, just like we brought back the fire department, bring it back, make it more efficient, make it so that we don't have to pay for all those lawsuits that the county is currently paying for, and that way we can bring down the cost. And we can hopefully have those, the money saved, put into a lot of different social services, homeless outreach, and things like that, fixing up Old Town, and things that we really need.
And you're talking about Old Town. Let's transition to the homeless real quick.
Okay.
What do you think the city can do to improve the homeless issues?
Okay, and there's the two different things. There's basically short-term and long-term.
Okay.
In the longer term, we have about 500 homeless that they've been able to count, and the city is planning to build housing for 2/3 of them. And I obviously want that to be 3/3. I want everyone to be housed, but it's a start. So push that, build on what's there to push it all the way to make sure everyone's housed. But in the short term, we're lacking in homeless outreach. I know the Sheriff's Hope Department has one officer assigned for the entire Victor Valley region, which obviously means they're not able to be everywhere. So that means that code enforcement deals with homeless a lot. Instead, I would like to get some people who have specialties more along the line of, mental health care workers, drug addiction specialists, psychiatrists or psychologists, and those people who are experts in that area.
Well, let me cut you off right there. We only have a couple of minutes left. Measure P. Measure P actually touches base on a variety of topics you just hit, where it came to police, fire, homeless, and code enforcement. What's your position on Measure P?
Okay, and Measure P is that 1% tax raise. I don't believe a tax raise, especially in the time of COVID, is either good or wise or needed. We definitely need to have strong public services. So we have to look at other ways. One way is reclaiming the police department from the county. That's a long-term thing.
Okay.
That's a long-term savings, but a lot of our costs, we have to look at them. Homeless, we've got to do the cheapest method is actually housing first.
Let me jump in real quick because I only got a minute and a half left because we could talk all night.
Yeah.
You're talking about the police department. With COVID, a lot of cities throughout the country has taken a hit financially.
Yes.
And if you can't raise any type of taxes or so forth, that's going to be a pinch. Like, what's the alternative?
That's a good question. And sales tax is something the city is based on. So we have to look at getting all of the federal and state grants and using them to the best of the ability. For instance, the homeless shelter, some of the funds for that have already been used under the CARES Act.
I got to cut you off. I only got 30 seconds left. I apologize. I went long on you. Look in that camera and let the people know for 15 seconds why they should select you. Disregard that fly. It's okay. I'm sorry.
Okay. My name is Kareema Abdul, and I'm ready to be the voice for Victorville, and I'm ready to bring Victorville to be the heart of the high desert. That's what I believe we are, and that's what we can be.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm with Eric Swanson. You were behind the scenes.
Yes, I
you
was.
saw all of the interviews. What did you think about Mr. Negrete?
Mr. Negrete had been here before, so you knew that he knows a lot of the workings here, and you could see that actually in his interview. He's got some ideas that he wants to pull forward, like he said.
Right, and what about Mrs. Abdul?
Mrs. Abdul, she's got a passion within herself that she wants to say, yes, this has got to change. I want to do something here.
Elizabeth Becerra.
Talk about a knowledge base, because she worked here for, I don't know, it's over 30 years.
34 years.
And it's like she knows where all the stuff, all the skeletons in the closets and maybe everything out there.
Right.
So pretty amazing. So I think that the three candidates.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of our new videos.